Why do I still use the GoPro Hero7 in 2024? You don't need all the fanciest and smanciest gear. I just don't need a newer action camera. This one checks all of my boxes. So this is the Insta360 Ace Pro. I guess I was lying when I said that the Hero7 was all I needed.
I just don't need a newer action camera. This one checks all of my boxes.
That was me in September. Now it's December, and now in this video, not only am I going to show you why I got the Insta360 Ace Pro, but also why the Hero7 lasted as a solid camera for me for so long. Oh, and at the end of this video, I'll share why I got this camera instead of like a GoPro or like one of the DJI Action cameras. And it's really sad because for the longest time, I've been rooting for GoPro. So let's blow this popsicle stand. So for years, I had the GoPro Hero7. Came out in like 2017. I got it as soon as it came out. From 2017 to 2024, the Hero7 did a pretty stellar job at whatever I asked of it. But as I've grown into what I expect an action camera to do, and as you know, the industry itself has grown, my limits have grown, and I've started to see what the limits of the Hero7 are. The Ace Pro isn't just an upgrade. It's a camera that pretty much outperforms the Hero7 in every single way. It's pretty darn reliable. It does my BTS camera work, hand it to my wife when she goes skiing, or I'll strap it on top of a car, do a hyperlapse going down the road. I've dropped this thing from the sky in a parachute once just because I wanted to. It's just a camera that doesn't break, and I love it. It's not that the Hero7 suddenly just became a bad camera. It's more about what my expectations and what I demand my gear gives me had just evolved, and the Hero7 had just become an old camera. But I know for me that if I was watching this video, I would want to know all of the nitty-gritty tech stuff that this really does have over the Hero7. Let's go through the list here. The biggest one for me was the flip out screen. We also got the sensor here that's co-engineered with Leica. It shoots 8K, which is more than I will ever need. I'm most likely only going to be shooting in 4K. Then you've got 4K and 120 frames a second, which for me is just starting to become a standard that I have with cameras. My R5C has 4K and 120. I don't use it all the time, but it is freaking nice when I do want to have that. It has all of the AI features in here. It's got like cancel recording, stop recording, anyway, it's got a ton of stuff in here. The low light capabilities in here are insane. I was shooting recently an event for my local town, and I just pulled out the Ace Pro and the Hero7 and then my Canon R7, and I just shot the exact same thing with all three of them. And of course there's still grain in the image with this one, just a little bit. But next to the Hero7, it's night and day. The difference that this thing brings. It almost makes me wish that I would have gotten it sooner. We got the battery life. The battery life on this thing is phenomenal. I was recording an hour-long podcast at a convention, set this thing up as a wide angle of the entire audience, and I forgot about it for another 20 minutes after the podcast had ended, and I still had about 30% left, and that was shooting at 4K 24. The Hero7 gets me by, but I don't think I get more than 30 or 40 minutes out of it at 4K 24 frames a second. Better video quality across the board, better stabilization, a freaking flip out screen, like come on. It just is better in every single way. And Black Friday deal. I got this thing on a Black Friday deal. If I'm going to get something that I'm not going to use a ton of the time, I'm going to be using this for like BTS content and extra angle for stuff that I may not have an extra camera for. It just made sense to get a new camera on a Black Friday deal. And it also helps that the Insta360 Ace Pro 2 just came out, which means that the original Ace Pro is going to be discounted. I might get a newer one someday, but for the foreseeable future, I don't see myself needing one. I feel like upgrading your camera every 4 or 5 or 7 years for me here is more realistic than upgrading every single year when the newer one comes out. And I feel like that's more what the average person is going to do. The average person, to me at least, isn't always going to have the nicest and the newest and the latest and the greatest. They're gonna get whatever works for them and use the heck out of it. Or at least I would hope that that's what the average person does. That's what I do. I get whatever works for me, checks all my boxes, and I use the heck out of it. I freaking abuse the camera. I've put it on snowmobiles, I've jumped over it, I've thrown it in a little, I don't know what they're called. I've stomped on it, I've hit it with a swather, I've done all this crazy stuff with it, and it is still going strong. For me, it was just realizing that once the pros of getting a new camera far outweigh the cons of holding on to my old camera and trying to make it work, it just made sense to upgrade. So here's the reasons that I didn't get like a GoPro Hero 12 or 13 instead of this. GoPro's low light capabilities, GoPro still has a smaller sensor, and then even then I just don't feel like their low light rendering is as good as some of these other action cameras. GoPro doesn't have a fast charging feature. The newer GoPro cameras seem to have some overheating issues. I don't know why that is. My Hero 7 has never overheated in all of the years that I've used it, but I've watched some reviews and the Hero 11, 12, and 13 seem to have some overheating issues, which seems like a manufacturing problem. Maybe they're trying to stuff too much in there without actually figuring out how the camera is going to deal with it, whereas these other cameras seem to deal with it a lot better. The DJI cameras beat the GoPro cameras in pretty much every single one of these categories. So let's talk about why I got this over the DJI cameras. For me, the biggest difference was truthfully the flip out screen. Means that I can see it on a bigger screen when it's facing myself, or if I want to have it like low to my body, I just, put it like this, and then all of a sudden I can see what my camera's seeing because of this screen. I don't have to like try to, go behind it. I can, the screen just makes so much sense. And then a lot of the AI features and functionality that are in here just were a cherry on top. I always thought I'd get a newer GoPro camera, but after weighing the pros and cons and just seeing the bang for buck that this thing brings, the fact that this was such a good deal was just the cherry on top of like everything else that this camera comes with that the GoPros don't come with. If I were to ever upgrade to another action camera in the near future, I would probably get an Insta360. I feel like they're just innovating a lot better than GoPro is. GoPro seems to be late to the party now. And I don't know if I'm really gonna put this in the video, but it also has something to do with the fact that GoPro's name has just kind of been going downhill in recent years, in my opinion. And they show little to no signs of wanting to get back on top of the game that they literally created. GoPro literally created this action camera industry. And in my opinion, I feel like they've fallen off compared to some of these other brands. There's a documentary I watched on YouTube a while ago that is really insightful on this, and I feel really just shows what these other camera brands are doing that is smarter than GoPro. And it's really sad because for the longest time, I've been rooting for GoPro. I've been waiting for GoPro to make something that just revolutionizes the industry once again. I feel like their first 4 or 5 cameras really they put everything they had into those cameras, and then I feel like since then they've been just holding off features because they want to be able to make sure that the next camera has something that the newest one doesn't. I've been following Insta360 for a couple of years now, and every single product they put out is leaps and bounds better than their last one. You can tell that they are just on top of their game. They're innovating every single day. I just don't need a newer action camera. This one checks all of my boxes. I originally did not think I would have to upgrade for 7 more years because of how well the Hero 7 held up for me. It is still a great camera. I will still use it, but it's just not something that can compete with an Ace Pro. Rant over. Thanks for watching. Take care in this Christmas season. Hope you get what you want, and I hope you don't throw a fit if you don't. Yeah. Okay, bye.